Okay. So today is a very easy operation that we are going to perform. That is, we are going to perform a login operation in this case, which is one of the most important activity for any type of web application. That is, whenever we have a registration page, generally we have some operations that should be performed only after the user logs in. Okay, so you can take any example of the application that you have used. Say you have used Gmail, you have used Yahoo, you have used Instagram, you have used WhatsApp. So all these applications, they have a registration page, plus they also even have a login page in this case. That is, some data are private to your account, means only you should be able to view those data or view those information. In such case, we can restrict your data to be displayed only to you by having the concept of authentication in this case, or the login operation, what we say in this case. So today we will be performing the login operation based on the registration page. That is very important in this case, because once we register the data, there we have taken few attributes like mobile number, we have taken email ID as a inputs in this case, and password as a one more input in this. So you should make a combination of password with any one of the unique attribute. Like example, it can be a mobile number, it can be an email ID. Suppose if we are taking student register ID, that is USN, we can use a USN as one of the parameter in this case. So what we are going to do in the today's classes, we will take mobile number and password as two authentication factors by which we will be performing the authentication of the user. If the user is authenticated, then he will be allowed to perform the login operation in this case. Okay. So for that, first thing what we do is that we open the application, and in the application go to the templates folder, create one login page in this case. So login page is generally, it will be having a mobile number and password, or email ID and password, or USN or and password, or username and password. So it depends on many different factors in this case. So just to reduce the time of execution or explanation, I'll take the data from the student register page, put it here, call the file name with save as login.html. And in this, there are many fields. Apart from many fields, I'll just change here as login, and same thing with here login. And to perform the form design, I need only mobile number and password. So I'll remove the remaining one in this case. I don't want student name. I want mobile number. This should be auto focus now. So auto focus. So mobile number and password I will take in this. So remove email ID not required. Remove the course that is not required, and take the password. I don't even need the project title. Remove that. So a very simple authentication form we are creating. That is where I'm taking a mobile number from the user and the password in this. Okay, just two forms. The easiest method would be copy the content from the what do you say from the register page, and you can make the modification in this case. So now after this, the next thing what we do is, as I told you, whenever you create one HTML page, the very next thing you should do is you should create one path in the urls.py. So in the urls.py, I will use one more path in this, call it as student login. Same thing, search also student login, name also student login. So I've created a page here that is student login in this case. So where after immediately what we do is we will be creating a one more file in this. That is, I told you when a HTML file is created, create a path. Once the path is created, go to views.py, and here you have to define one function. So one function I'll say def student login request colon. I told you MSG is a common variable, must pass in this case. Return render, call the HTML file. That is, pass the first parameter request, the file name in this, comma, in the dictionary you can pass MSG colon MSG. This is compulsory. Whichever page you create, you have to pass a message to that particular page in this case. So for that compulsory, we have to we have to send the MSG variable to that in this case. Now after this, save this, run the application. So let me run the application by clicking CMD. Okay. So inside this Python manage.py run server. So server application runs. Open the browser localhost colon 8000 slash student login, and it says student login.html does not exist. Probably we have given the now this is also a very important message. Most of the students will get this. Okay, when you try for other programs in this case, that is template does not exist. That means either the spelling of the HTML file is a mistake, or you have saved that login page in some or that particular HTML file in some other location. Okay, so in this case what has happened is I stored this file as a login, but there I have given student login, so keep the same name. So I have changed it to student login.html. Now you refresh, you get a login page. Now, since there are only two fields in this, I don't want it side by side. I wanted one below the another in this case. So, how to do that? Very simple. By default, it is always side by side in this. 4 units we have given for mobile number, 4 units we have given for password in this case. To make it, to make the mobile number come in place of the password, we have to make a small change. The change is use one more class, that is offset hyphen lg hyphen 4. Save this. Now if I give offset, what happens? So you can see immediately offset 4 means the first 4 blocks are kept empty, and mobile number immediately came to the next line in this. Now I want the password should also come in the next line. So what I will do is I will use the same offset 4 for him. Save this and run the program. I'll say this continuous, save this and refresh. And I can see immediately from the left margin he left 4 units and the password is exactly below the mobile number in this. So a very simple way of making the change to the application. Now once this file is created, we have to check whatever the mobile number password we enter here. When the user, okay, change that register to login now. So value is equal to login. Now we are giving value is equal to login. Don't make change to the name also, because I have seen many students make a change in the type and name. They put here also login, they put here also login. Remember, there is no tag called as type is equal to login. Okay, so name is equal to will remain submit, type is equal to will remain submit. Only the value property changes. Save this, and now you can see we have a valid login page in this case. Now after this, we type the user mobile number and password, click on login, it will come back to the views page. And here we have to write the function in this case, the operation to check whether he is a valid user or not in this. So for that, what we do is we have to first fetch the data. Say, I'll call it as mobile number is equal to request dot post square bracket open close. Fetch the name of that particular tag. That is name. Copy paste the names. Next, I have password is equal to same request dot post square bracket open close. Inside this, copy the password and paste it. Once this is done, we have to check whatever the user and password he has entered in the text box is there in the database table or not. How to do it? Very simple. You have done the search operation. Same thing we do here in this. We are storing the data inside the object called student data. So what I will do is I'll say if student data dot objects dot filter. Whenever you want to apply a conditions, we make use of the filter function in this case. Filter, inside this, open your models.py. So in models.py, whatever is the name, copy this, paste it here, is equal to whatever the data I have fetched here. You can copy this, paste it here, comma. The next is I need to check with the password in this. Copy the password is equal to the variable name here and paste it. But the point is, no need to have an extra variable in this case. Fetching the data from the form, putting it inside a variable, and then giving that variable is not required. To reduce the lines of code, increase the efficiency of the code, you can just copy paste the data directly in this. So no need of writing two extra variables, two extra lines are avoided in this. And we use a function called as exists. I told you about this. Exist function will check whether the data exists in the form or not in this. So exist function, put a colon, come inside this. Remember, if the user comes inside this means the user has entered a valid input. If he comes inside the if condition. So what I do here is I want to go to one more page, that is student home. So what is the option that we do? Very simple. We say return render open close request comma student home dot html. I'm not passing any parameters in this case. So I'll give a message to the user. Of course, we have not created student home dot html. We will create one. Next, come to the else part of this. It will come to the else part if the username and password is wrong. So msg is equal to invalid mobile number or password. So very simple in this case. If the condition is true for the mobile number and password, go to student home. Else, you just put a message to the user saying invalid mobile number or password. Now, go to templates and create one more new file, that is studenthome.html. And in this we will just put a HTML file student home. You can just use a h1 message in the center if you want. Say, welcome to student home. So if the user logs in with a proper ID and password in this case, then it will display a message on the screen saying welcome to student home in this case. So this message will be displayed on the screen. So save this, and as I always keep telling you that whenever you create a HTML file, go to views.py, go to urls.py, add one path. With this paste, I will call it as student home, views as same and same. So a HTML file is created, we have created a separate path for it. And whenever a path is created, copy the name, go to views.py, create a function. So def student home inside this request column. MSG is always must be declared in this case. Next, I will say return render open close request comma student home dot html comma two flower brackets msg colon msg. Okay, so just student home. Currently we are not doing any operations on the student home, so I've kept it empty in this case. So where I'm just calling the student home function, that is a student home dot html file in this. Save this. Now let us run the application. So what are the things we have done? Very simple. Let's summarize. I created one login page where I'm taking mobile number and password from the user, and I have created a one more page student home in this case. For that also we have created a path and we have created a function. In the student login, we are taking the ID and password mobile number and student login, we are taking the mobile number and password, and in the views, we are calling the function. That is, we are calling the function where it will check whether the username and password exists in that table or not in this case. Okay, so very simple operation in this. Now the next what we do. So now we will perform one second. Student login, probably we did one mistake. That is, if request dot method double equal to post, this was not created, hence it was showing an error. Okay, so that else entire if else will come inside this. Save this and refresh the web page. And one more thing, make sure that in the student login that CSRF token is there or not. If it is not there, it will give error. Yes, we have written the CSRF token in this. Save. Now run the application. So in the application, probably 9845356246. My account might be there in this, and I'll say password Vivek. Click on login. It comes to the student home page in this case. So very simple in this. Sir, what if I want to check whether invalid message will be displayed or not? Yes, we will try that also in this. Mobile number, password 123 I will give. Change password. It will display me a message saying invalid mobile number or password. So if I have entered a wrong ID password, it will display this message. If I enter a valid details, click on login, I can see I have come to the student home page. But there is one small problem in this case. The problem is the URLs. As you can see in the URLs, it is still pointing to the student login page in this case. So student login page, it is being displayed. So how to modify this? Okay, so how to modify this is very simple. You have to, instead of calling the HTML page, now go to views.py. Instead of calling the HTML page directly, you have to call the student home function, and student home function should call the student home.html. If you do like this, then the problem will be solved. Okay, how to do that? Very simple in this case. Instead of using a render function, we make use of a one more function called as redirect. And inside this redirect, mention the name of the function directly which you want to call. Say it is student home, so I'll use a student. Very simple, a small change. Instead of using a render function, make use of the redirect function. Render function is used to call the HTML files, whereas redirect function is used to call the functions. So I'm here calling the function student home. And remember, the redirect function has to be imported. That is, make a change here. That is redirect. So very simple method they have used to call a HTML file, that is render function. To call the built-in Python function in this, make use of the redirect. Let us see how this works now. So let me make the login again. I have entered the valid mobile number and password. Click on login. I came to student home, and you can see here it is now pointing to student home in this. So that is one difference that we should remember. The second point that you should remember here, how exactly it happened. Remember, when I entered my username and password, that is mobile number and password, it checked the condition. The condition was true. He came inside this. He called the redirect function. Redirect function, student home. Now you may be thinking that student home, he has seen this and we have a function by name student home. So he directly called this function. The answer is no. What happened in this case is, when I told redirect student home, redirect function actually went to urls.py. In urls.py, he will check where is student home in the name property in this case. So every time we were writing the name property, but it was never used. It is always used by the redirect function in this case. So redirect function, when he sees student home, he comes to the paths, he will check where is the student home name in this. And once he finds that name, he will jump to the views dot function name. So he saw this, then he saw views dot student home. He again came back to views dot student home. He saw this function. The function was called and you told in that function to redirect to student home in this case. So this is how the redirection takes place in case of the Django framework. So always remember, whatever you type here is used by urls.py. Whatever you type here is used by views function in the redirect function in this. So whatever you give in the redirect will first come to urls.py, match the name property, and which property is matched, it will call that particular function and come here, and it will call the student home.html, and that's why you could see this student home. So I'll just execute again, say student login. I entered a valid email ID and password, mobile number and password, clicked on login. It is showing me student home, but you should know how it had executed behind in this case, how the backend started working in this particular case in this. Clear with this point? So this is how the operations are performed by the application, by the login application in this. Any doubts you have, you can ask.